Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome to On Renewables, the podcast brought to you by the UAE Mission to IRENA, that's the International Renewable Energy Agency. My name is Nawal Al-Hosany and I am the UAE Permanent Representative to IRENA and your host for this podcast. This is a very special episode of On Renewables. It's being recorded here live with audience at the Ministry of Climate Change and the Environment on the occasion of the Emirati Women's Day. For this episode, we wanted to talk to the women driving the UAE's global climate action from within the ministry. The reason and the inspiration I wanted to do this podcast today in a different way is because I was personally extremely inspired by those amazing ladies and many other ladies here in the Ministry of Climate Change. One important and interesting statistic is that the Ministry of Climate Change, our score when it comes to our KPIs in gender balance is amber, which means we are off balance. But we are off balance because we have more women in leadership position than men. And we keep saying this is a very good problem to have. So we're very happy with our amber. Even if it turned red, we don't have a problem with it because we are doing very well. But it's also made me think, why this is the case? Because globally, one of the biggest challenges that we face is that there are not enough women, and women are underrepresented when it comes to this sector. And that was made me think that we are really doing very well here in the UAE by not only enabling and empowering women to be in this sector and many other sectors, but we succeeded. We have women in leadership position, we have women in technical, we have in all levels and in all sectors when it comes to climate action. So I wanted in this episode to shed light on very few select of those amazing women, understand what is it that attracted them to this sector? What are the challenges that they perceive and how do they see the future? So I'm very honored and humbled that I have with me today 4 distinguished leaders in their sectors. Her Excellency Dr. Al-Anoud, who I'm sure you all know, she is the Assistant Undersecretary for Climate Change and Green Development. Her Excellency Hiba, who is the Assistant Undersecretary for the Biodiversity. Our dear colleague and soon to be Her Excellency Hajar, who is helping us, all of us, not only in Mokai, but for the UAE to share the story and speak about our achievement when it comes to climate action. And of course, one of my personal biggest inspiration, Adra, who is driving our negotiation team in all platforms extremely successfully and proving that the UAE youth are to be taken very seriously, not just because they are blessed with the leadership and government that support youth, but because they are extremely driven, they understand the challenges, and they know how and where they can actually contribute and make an action. So without further ado, I'm going to start by giving the floor to my guests to address the first question. And you can be as personal as you would like. And we can start with Dr. Al-Anoud, because Dr. Al-Anoud basically for 2 months now has started a journey. Maybe it's new to her, maybe it's not. We need to know. What is it and how? Describe to us your journey into the climate action. What triggered you? Because I know you're a scientist by background and you've studied in a field that maybe perception-wise not necessarily directly linked to climate action. So share with us, and then the question is going to be for all of you. What got you to be in this journey? What was the trigger? What's the inspiration? And you can be as personal as you can.
Yes, so first of all, Doctora, we are humbled to be here with you on this podcast. I personally watched a lot of your podcasts, and you're speaking of the amazing Emirati woman that inspired you. And for me, you are one of the amazing women that inspired me even before meeting her. We're happy to be, I'm personally very happy and honored to be in this podcast. What triggered me into climate change? Well, the story goes back to when I was sitting in elementary school. I had this habit of never going with what's in the curriculum that we need to learn. I had this habit of sitting in the classroom. I listened to the teacher, but at the same time, I'm flipping through the science book. And I came across a photo of the agar that Alexander Fleming, who is the father of the discovery of antibiotics. And he actually got the Nobel Prize for this discovery. I saw the agar, I saw the name of Alexander Fleming, and I was wondering, so it's one person who dedicated some time to see how bacteria can be cut off or inhibit the growth of bacteria. And then I flip more and more into that book as the days go, and I come across deforestation photo. Again, it's a forest in Northern America where the topic is about deforestation and how is that now the norm in many areas around the world. I was in an American-based curriculum school. So this was the first attachment to the science world. And growing up, we were an extended family, meaning the grandmother and grandfather and the aunt is at home. And I had a very close relationship to my aunt, Allah yarhamha, Momoza. And we had this outing always. She would take me, being the only daughter. During summer times when we're not traveling, we have this our own time out. And you can guess where was my ask. It wasn't a toy place or a toy shop or even a play area. It was the Science Museum in Sharjah. Luckily, I grew up in the town of Sharjah, where His Highness Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed was always keen on bringing to the Emirate that touch of education and science and social aspects where children can go and learn. And so that was my getaway. I take my Twix and my chips, and not very healthy, yeah, but this was part of the journey. And then I would spend hours actually just discovering the different areas. Fast forward to high school, I went to high school in Northern Virginia, just a few miles away from Washington, D.C. Luckily, this school was also a school where it encourages questioning, it encourages critical thinking, and it's research-based. At that time, the hit was the Human Genome Project. And I was intrigued by the subject of the Human Genome Project. And the school itself was in Northern Virginia, which has a very rich biodiversity place. It has the Appalachian Blue Ridges forests, so it's very dense in trees, in rivers, in many species that go there. And being in a unique school, we were always taken to do science in the field. So we just walk off the school, we go into the forest, and that's where we collect different species, whether plants, leaves, different insects, whatever, and we bring it back and we do the analysis. And the science teacher was, I caught her attention by being very driven by the Human Genome Project. So she emailed the National Institute of Health, and that's where Watson and Crick, the two scientists who discovered the double helix, were working, and I got to meet them. I had to go on this trip with a group of students, and I got to meet them. They spoke to us about the double helix and the DNA binding, the hydrogen binding that makes the DNA. And that is basically the building block of anything that we see in the ecosystem around us, in the biological ecosystem around us. So I knew that the journey will be in biological sciences. And I went to George Washington in the heart of DC, just a few blocks away from the White House. Then I did my master's in genomics and bioinformatics. It was a newly established field as well. And that's where I found even my interest growing bigger. I was able to interact with more scientists, and I was one of very few individuals who were able to work on protein-protein interaction in cancer cells, and I had publications. And it was basically the setting scene of the therapy that we see today, which is the immunotherapy when it comes to treating cancer. It's no longer dependent on chemotherapy. So it went from the one photo that I saw in the biology book and the journey that I had until I went to college. Then being in college in the middle of DC, and being part of a diplomatic family where my father is a diplomat, my brother is a diplomat as well, and then my father is also a professor in political sciences. So you have that biological background, and then you have that diplomacy, and then you have that political science background. And we have this very personal touch at home that we always grow up with. We have our afternoon tea, which basically happens every night, every evening, right after Maghrib prayer or Isha prayer. And that's where my father sits with us. We watch the news, and he speaks to us about different things. And this was also, for me, this is not anything less than what I learned in the academic world. The knowledge and the exposure to the experiences and the different information that I received from my father, the way he analyzes the news, the way he talks about the different events that led to this kind of action or scene happen, has also leveraged on my character today. So this brings the aspect of biology with the diplomacy, with the international relationship background, and the political science background.
So for those of you who are not aware, I think one of the most unique things about the UAE is that we were one of the very first countries who climate change was part of our foreign policy diplomacy. So Masdar, when it was created back in 2006, became our flagship initiative, not only a company, but it was an initiative that we communicated around the world, and we became extremely active as a UAE on climate diplomacy and representing that or changing the region's perception and positioning when it comes to climate action. And we kind of triggered that. We became really a major change agent for the region, given that where we come from and our foundation. So basically, Dr. Al-Anoud was triggered by a picture. I don't know about you, Hiba, but and I spoke with Hiba so many times, and I like to speak with Hiba whenever I'm a little bit down or depressed, because she has all those amazing stories, and she's so passionate about biodiversity that really gives you a lot of hope. So, I'm sure you have a lot of proud moments during your career, but once you speak about your journey, it would be nice for us to hear one of those really, really proud moments that you saw triggered and get you even more passionate about what you do.
Thank you, Dr. I think for a lot of the people sitting here, and I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of you know me as the person who won the award for the best youth in the government of the UAE in its first version as it came out in 2018. But Honestly, Doctora, one of the proudest moments was a few months before I won that title. It was, I was sitting in my office and I received a picture. It was actually a stranger who sent me a picture. And it was a baby whale shark. And that whale shark was trapped in Festival City, Festival City waterway, where they do the fire show. And people have been seeing that whale shark for a couple of days, and they've been sending pictures of that whale shark. And when you look at it, you see that whale shark's thrust. You can tell from the skin it has been there for a while. It is, and you can tell it has been slowly cooking in that area because of the heat and because of the fire show. And it just immediately broke my heart. And you know, when you feel that there's a baby that is lost and just disorientated, it can't get out of there. It's pretty dark because of the diesel in there. So and it was really late. It was about 6 p.m. That day I was still in the office, so I didn't know where to go. I asked if the minister was there. He was, and I passed by his office. The minute I walked in, and he looked at me, he was like, "Are you about to cry?" I was like, "Kind of. Please help me." And so I told him the situation, and he immediately understood that this is a crucial situation. We need to do something for this baby whale shark. And he called Al-Fataim. And Al-Fataim graciously said, "Okay, we're going to stop the show," which, by the way, cost them about $1.5 million to stop that show. So we asked him to stop the show. We went to the sea, and I asked, I saw who can I call to help me. So I called Dubai Police, who immediately sent a team, and I called the volunteers from the UAE divers centers, and they immediately also came. My sisters, my family were there as well, because I think they saw how emotional I was at that time. So we came together and we said, okay, how can we get it out of there? The issue now, if you probably you've seen the whale shark, they're quite big. It was a baby shark, so it was about 4 meters. The issue now, we don't have many options to take it out. If we try and pull it back all the way out of the creek, what's going to happen is the whale shark is going to drown, because sharks breathe through basically their lungs. So they take water in and out, and they grab that oxygen out of the water. So water have to enter through the front side of the shark. If we pull it, it's gonna go from the back side of the shark, and then they're basically going to drown. So imagine a fish drowning underwater. And if we take it, like if we put it in a glass box or any other box and we try and carry it out, it's not gonna be able to breathe. So it's going to suffocate, because sharks breathe as they move. So they move, the water goes in, they take oxygen out of the water, and as they move. So if we stop the shark from moving, as with such a big shark, it will not be able to breathe and it will die as well. So what can we do? And then together, we thought about an idea where we put a very strong cloth under the shark, where the shark is under the water, but we can hold it. So, and divers will be there. And Dubai Police have given us as well their best divers and their best boats. And we decided to have 2 boats go parallelly together with the shark on that cloth, with the divers holding it, and moving it back out of the creek. So we tried for hours, of course, to get that shark on that cloth. And we worked for almost a whole day. And then we were able to take it out on a journey for 45 minutes all the way out of the creek. And after that save, this save was considered the longest successful save for a whale shark in the world. And now it has been done twice as well, one in Abu Dhabi, one in another country as well. And I think this was one of the proudest moments in my life, I think, saving that baby whale shark.
You know, Hiba kept saying, mentioning that she was so emotional and she was so emotional. And I think the real word is passionate. And it's very important. Yesterday, you're talking, and I'm thinking, yesterday I was with the CEO of one of our biggest company, a female CEO. And we, I have this tendency to, to be there for people who would like to, to speak or to share stories and challenges and just reflect on it. And she told me that she has been basically framed as emotional. And this is the way to undermine her being a female, because she's emotional. And she said, but it's not about being emotional. Emotional, you can, once you are emotional, sometimes you just do not think well, you don't think properly. But I'm passionate, and with my passion, I managed to drive real action. And this is exactly what happened. In that story, your passion, maybe you described it as emotion, but it was real passion because you managed to create real change. Exactly like the passion I see in Hajar whenever I see her. The way she helped us basically narrate all those stories and target the journey of climate action in a different way, which is, how we can tell the story right, how we can drive more passion around the sector, and how can we engage more women when it comes, and one of the biggest challenges, we speak about challenges later, but I guess one of the reasons that maybe Hajar took that journey is that there isn't enough women when it comes to communicating and narrating our efforts. So what brought you, Hajar, or what made you so passionate about government communication, specifically when it comes to climate action?
I mean, first of all, thank you, Dr. Nawal, for hosting me in your podcast. And second of all, it's really hard to follow Hiba's passionate story. So I'll try. I'll try. I think it's really God's plan.
By the way, it was my biggest challenge to convince Hajar to be on this podcast, because somebody like Hajar, she's always like, in the background. She's designing, but she's not delivering. And I was like, but Hajar, you do have a lot of content and a lot of input and a lot of substance that you really need to share to inspire. So thank you for being here.
No, thank you.
And getting out of your comfort zone.
But no, I think it's really God's plan for me. I was passionate about communication in general. My experience, which is around 2 decades, is in the field of marketing and communication. And as far as I remember, one time when I was in DIFC, my line manager, who was also an Emirati female, Rajal Mazrou'i, she's now the Director General of Etihad Credits. Like one day she came to me and she told me, Hajar, they are creating a committee for sustainability for DIFC. At that time, DIFC was the #1, and still is, the #1 financial center in the region. So they are creating the sustainability committee. And I would like you to join as the secretariat of the committee. And I was like, me? What do I have to do with sustainability? I'm all about marketing and comms, and I'm fine with that. She's like, no, you should do it. It will come in handy one day. And I seriously was puzzled, and I didn't understand why I was put in that position. However, as a result of that, I had to work on the sustainability strategy of DIFC. At that time, I think we were the first center in the region that created a sustainability strategy to make the center fully sustainable. It was like, and still is, a huge center with around 15,000 or 20 now maybe 1,000 professionals working there every day. So it was a huge infrastructure with a huge like emissions and physical space that is being used, and our target was to change that. So long story short, years passed by, and I was just in my office one day. I received a call from HR here, and they told me that Her Excellency Mariam Al-Meheri would like to sit with you. And I met Her Excellency Mariam, and we had a chat and we had a conversation.
And in this conversation, she told me actually that we need more women in this field. And we have so many of the untold stories in the UAE, and I'd like you to help us to tell the stories. We are approaching the most important and crucial year for climate action in the UAE and for MOCAE, which is last year, 2023, the year of COP28. And being me, I love challenges, so I was like, why not? It could be as well the biggest event I work on. So I joined the ministry since then, and in general, in communication, I really believe that communication helps to bridge the gap between complexity and the wider public understanding of people. And it really empowers every citizen to play their role in a collaborative journey. So in the UAE, we are blessed by a visionary leadership that demonstrated again and again that they are committed to climate action. And what is best than being part of a nation that not only recognizes the challenges of climate action, but actually is a leader in making this recognition a true action and like marching towards clear goals in that sense. And this is what we are trying to apply here. I really believe that Emirati women and youth, they are like the essence, and they are key players in creating a sustainable future, which is what we aspire here in the UAE. And through MOCAE, if anything, we are trying to provide or create this platform that help to amplify their voices and to recognize their contributions really and give them credits. So we try to do that through different initiatives and activities. We try to create these educational and awareness programs. We try to provide like the Emirati women and youth with the tools, and we try to create collaborative opportunities as well where we involve everyone. Everyone has something to bring to the table. And what we are trying to do is to recognize them and bring them alongside us in order to march together towards our goals.
Which makes us bridge very nicely to our youth. So Adra, you could have been anything.
Yeah.
And I know you had opportunities to, and you were literally, no, I don't want this, yes, I want that. So you were in a very strong position to choose. But you chose to be part of MOCAE, and you chose to pursue a career in climate action. Why?
Well, I think I had two big triggers in my life that made me choose what I'm currently doing here at MOCAE. So going back in time, I think the first trigger was while I was studying my bachelor. So I was basically doing civil engineering, construction, structure, and all of that. That was a bit away from environment and climate. But then in my last year, I had to conduct a research on climate and water. And that was my first turning point. So understanding the context of climate and water was a bit new to me. I found myself passionate about it, to explore more about it, learn more. And then what really triggered me is that this field is relatively complex, and there are a lot of unanswered questions. And being me, so curious, I wanted to learn more, explore, and discover at least or answer a few of those questions. So I decided to pursue my studies and the water environmental engineering. Alhamdulillah, يعني in the UAE, where like the country believes and view women as assets, investing heavily in their education and development, I was able to finish my master's. I conducted 3 research in the field and like different scopes in the field. And then a year later, I had a bigger trigger. So I was
while I'm doing all these research and diving into the data and etc., I got to know that there is a trip to, there's an expedition to Antarctica. So I decided that I want to be on that boat. I did my best to contact the travelers, and it happened. I secured my spot on the boat.
It didn't just happen. It happened because you wanted it to happen. So don't undermine your effort in making it happen.
Yeah, it was a quite hard convincing on a lot of sides. But again, I was fully supported by one of the great programs in the country, Youth for Sustainability, and I believe
Which we launched.
yeah, it is one of the really great program we could work with, and it like we have a lot of other programs that youth could utilize to advance in the climate action. So they have supported me. I was on the boat sailing to the Antarctic Circle. So if you would imagine with me, like being on the Zodiac boat, going in the Antarctic Circle on the high waves, it's a dry air, and then you see the huge white glaciers in front of you. The sky on top is just art. The wildlife is really rich, from penguins to seals to whales. It's just a mesmerizing scene. But then, you come to the realization that, all this beauty and the whole ecosystem is really fragile and vulnerable. And it could be down because of or due to the global warming, which we, in a way, contribute in it, even if we were like across the globe. So that was really, I would say, one of the biggest moments I had, and where I came back trying to reflect on what I have seen, and all the moments and events we have seen there in Antarctica, and try to think, how could I bring a new perspective on the table? What could I bring from that experience to my country? And then a few months later, I joined the ministry.
That's fantastic. So, with all those inspirational stories and journeys, I'm sure they were somehow you had few challenges to play it lightly. So it would be nice to understand, because again, we are who we are, and our journeys is inspiring as they are because of those challenges and how we overcame those challenges. So, Dr. Al-Anoud, like you literally thrown into an ocean. In June, I believe you took over the sector, and it is still a very important journey for the UAE. We are still in the COP presidency. We're approaching COP29, but we also, have a lot of things that is happening, from our net zero strategy to our global submissions for our reporting, and speaking about what we do here in the UAE. Up to you, from a personal level or professional level, what are the biggest challenges that you faced as you pursue this career now?
I think the biggest challenge, I can't speak about the biggest challenge without speaking about the position of the UAE when it comes to climate action, not only locally, but on the international arena. And one of the very early things that I did when I got engaged with, again, I came back to the biological sciences track through my engagement in COP28 as the deputy to the National Committee on Greening Education before I joined the Ministry of Climate Change. And I remember trying to dig deep to understand the position of the UAE even before the hosting of COP28. And it was very interesting to come across an article that talks about Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, Allah yarhamah, being or winning the award of the Champion of Earth. And it took me back to reflect on all the photos that I had of late Sheikh Zayed in my personal album of him. I used to collect different photos of him from Al-Khalij newspaper when I was a kid, and I was reflecting on that album, and I remember a lot of photos of him either being under a palm tree or watering or digging into the sand to plant. And then I remember a section in our home, our childhood home, where we have a set of items that were made from the leaves of the date palm tree. And so I came to realize that sustainability is not something new to the UAE. It is embedded in our culture. It is part of what we do. And even the generosity of the UAE in giving to the international scene when there are disasters like hurricanes or floods, the UAE was always generous to give and support. So the UAE it wasn't a coincidence that climate change is part of the agenda of the UAE. It is embedded in the culture, and being part now of the negotiations, attending Bonn meetings, and then recently the meetings in Sofia, and hearing different parties speak about their position, I realized that we are championing that because we are doing it by action. Reflecting on the outcomes of COP28, it was the first time that there was consensus to triple renewables. So today when I look at my position, it's not a job in an organization. It is something that, or a position that's part of a legacy to be carried forward. And I have a role in making sure that the legacy that was put forward by Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan is carried forward. The legacy that happened in COP28 is put forward. Recently, I got to meet a lot of the individuals whom I used to watch on TV when there was different news on COP28, and part of them are here today. You're one of them, Doctora. In those meetings and negotiations, I got to meet the full negotiation team, not only our own, but also from the other entities as well. And I see the amount of passion that they carry. So it is now my responsibility, along with them, to carry that legacy forward. And when we write the NDCs, the National Determined Contributions, it was a learning experience for me. I had to write a chapter, and my chapter was on climate finance and fair share. So I had to learn about the different actions that the UAE is doing and contributing to the international context. And Masdar, for example, they are operating in more than 40 countries, maybe 70 countries now. So for a country that is, not only close to or a little more than 50 years old, and we're not only focusing on our goals, we're focusing on the international arena. It's our role to make sure that that positioning is carried forward. And I find this the most challenging and the most inspiring as well aspect of my position today.
I think one of the most fascinating things when we travel internationally is the question that people keep asking us: why the UAE is doing what they are doing. You are an oil and gas country. You have all those resources. Even with all those global accusations that the UAE carbon footprint is very high, but on the scale of things, we are really a very small country, and with doesn't matter how much we do, but we're not gonna, we are not gonna move the needle. But the way we are moving the needle is by inspiring global action and mobilizing global action. The UAE, and I say that with confidence, The UAE is actually the reason that that we have mobilized so much action that now we have 3 of the biggest and the lowest cost solar farms in the world. And that's not by coincidence. There is legacy, there is passion, there is leadership, and there is political will that drove that, and the passionate people that making it happen. Hiba, there is, I'm sure, some unique challenges that you faced and when it comes to biodiversity. Do you want to share with us some of those challenges?
Sure. I think the main challenge for me and for my team as well is that when we talk about biodiversity, we're talking about the animals, we're talking about the plants we're protecting, we're talking about their homes where they belong. So, but in the same time, these animals do not have a voice. If they had a voice, you'll see elephants marching the streets. You'll see, the birds with flags talking about their rights. But unfortunately, they don't. And we've been taking away so much and destroying so much from their lands and their homes and the areas where they belong. So we are losing so much. We've lost already 70% of the biodiversity that we have. So it's a huge responsibility to be able, to defend them, to be able to protect them, especially with the fact that we see a lot of changes in the world. The population is increasing. We need more land. We need more trade. We need a lot more that will considerably affect them. So for me and my team, trying to also communicate how these animals feel, or how, let's say, or their needs, it's a huge challenge. So if I go to an investor, let's say, who's coming to take this cost away to build a hotel, I would say this cost belonged to the turtles who left or who were born here 25 years ago, and they're coming back after they are now mature to lay their eggs on this nest, because this is the only beach they know. This is the only beach they know where to go back to lay their eggs. And then you see the answer is, and then what? So what if they don't come back? But they don't know any other beach. But this is their home. We're going to take it away. It means we're losing that population. And it's going to be the case over and over again. So it's, I think, one of the biggest challenges that we are trying to keep that balance between sustainable development and the protection as well of biodiversity. And the fact that it's not just here in the UAE. Alhamdulillah, in our case, we are lucky because our leaders, they are so passionate about biodiversity. They're protectors in their nature. So it was easier for us in the UAE to protect. This is why we're number 1 when it comes to marine areas. We have 33 terrestrial protected areas. We are one of the only countries, by the way, who reversed the loss of biodiversity. Actually, biodiversity and the population status became better in the UAE. However, biodiversity doesn't know any boundaries.
Yeah.
They don't know that this is the UAE, or that they don't really know maps. So we also, one of also the challenges is to be able to protect these animals outside of our borders, to work with other countries to protect them, to protect the elephants, to work with African countries to protect the elephants. Today, every 15 minutes, an elephant dies in the world. Every 15 minutes. That's a huge number if you count it over a year. So in order for our kids to be able to see elephants by 2050, we need to work with them. We need to help them, because we are lucky. We have the experience. We have the resources. We also need to help other countries, and this is one of the biggest, I think, challenges that we face there.
And another thing that has no boundaries and no borders is the story. And the way we communicate our stories is basically how we create history and how we draft our history. So Hajar, what are the challenges that you think we need to overcome as we narrate our stories, regionally and internationally?
Honestly, Dr. Nawal, we do face challenges every day. To secure an effective communication, but I as well believe that if we applied the strategic thinking and creativity, probably we'll be reaching somewhere and we will achieve a wider understanding of the audience. So in terms of challenges, I would say, and I'm sure that a lot of you would be able to name a few with me, I would start by saying the complexity of the understanding of climate change. A lot of people feel that this area is really complex to understand. What does it mean? They don't understand it, and sometimes, as they say, away from the eyes, away from the heart, and away from the heart, away from the eyes. So if they don't see it, they don't understand it. And another challenge is the misinformation and misconception of some of the information around climate. So it always is widespread everywhere online in our communities. People are often misinformed about so many things. There is as well the diverse audience that we deal with in our communication. So how can we successfully reach a diverse audience with different backgrounds and different ethnicities and languages and so on? And I'd like as well to name the fact that there is urgency to climate change. We need to find solutions, but we should not forget that there is hope. And as our leadership says, there are opportunities in everything. So in terms of how can we overcome them, and this is what we are doing through Mokai, really is to create an inclusive narrative for the UAE climate action. So everybody has something to bring into the table and everybody can contribute. If there are some misinformations available in the public, we address them heads on through our leadership, through our content. We try to be creative with our storytelling, whether visual or written or heard. We try to reach as much as possible. And now we are even delivering our messages in different languages as well to reach the diverse audience. But one of the things we are doing as well, and specifically the education and awareness team is really focused on, is to have a clear segmentation of the audience that we are talking to and have the messages really tailored to each one of them, whether they are fishermen, whether they are youth, whether they are university students, or even housewives, senior citizens. As we said, everybody has something to bring to the table. A true challenge to us is to sustain an engaged community. And it's through the different programs and the diversity of the different programs we try to have the community engage with us and create opportunities for them to participate and volunteer and make sure that they continuously engage with us, because this is how we are going to create the impact, and this is how they are going to take whatever experience they went through and they will pass it on to others, really, and create a wider impact overall.
So speaking of impact, nothing is bigger than the impact of youth. And I don't think there is a better place for youth to be than the UAE, but I'm sure, and I would like to hear from you, Adra, in your opinion or what you've seen, what are the main barriers to, for youth voice to be breaking through all those challenges?
I think the most significant barrier is awareness, not only on the knowledge of climate itself, but also on the realistic ways of tackling those issues. So understanding the complexity of the climate and how it's interlinked with the other fields, other aspects of life, is really crucial to understand how we could tackle this issue and what are the governmental directions to tackle those issues. And it's heavily interlinked with the youth inclusion on the discussion tables, having them participating in the international and global platforms and processes for looking into those issues and finding some solutions, having them on the decision making tables. But I think from my experience, we're lucky in the UAE that we have really a lot of great opportunities to overcome all those issues. يعني, and at COP28, we had the first ever climate youth champion, Her Excellency Shamma Al-Mazrou'i. Our UAE's negotiation team had more than 60% of youth, and of course dominant by ladies. So we really had the really great opportunities when we walk into the rooms of negotiation and we see all those experts, well seasoned, and they have been spending years doing the job they're doing, having those discussions and negotiation. And we, at this young age, being able to sit on the table, discussing with them, representing our country is really a huge matter, especially at this young age. So I believe that, we have a lot of doors that are waiting for us to just knock on it and try to make our voice louder.
So this brings me to my last question, and it's a great way to segue to my last question. And in a few seconds, if I may, wanna hear from you about your hopes and your vision for the future of Emirati women and how they can achieve their aspiration, both in community and when it comes to climate action, and what, in your opinion, the UAE is doing to empower Emirati women. We're going to start with you, Hajar, this time.
Well, as I said a few minutes ago, I believe that youth, Emirati youth and Emirati women, they are the key and the essence of our sustainable future. And I really envision a near future even where the youth, they are not only just well informed, but they are really taking serious action in the climate journey of the UAE, where they are really implementing their innovative solutions to combat climate change across the different sectors. And our government did not spare any efforts to harness them and provide this inclusive environment through the different initiatives and activities and strategies, be it career counseling opportunities, be it forums, be it spaces for collaboration, and so on. So really, by harnessing them and empowering them with the right opportunities, we would be creating a community and Emirati and whether youth or women that are really ready to march forward towards creating the sustainable future of the UAE that we all aspire for.
Hiba.
I'm a little bit biased, so I'm going to talk about biodiversity. And as you know, Doctora, women are naturally protective. They are very well connected to their emotions, so they feel for biodiversity. This is why they do so well when it comes to the biodiversity, let's say, sector of work and sciences as well. But even if you are a woman and you're out there, even if you were not working in sciences or in biodiversity or even in the environmental field, I still see you as a key for our success, because a lot of the women out there are mothers, and you are a key to the next generation, or creating a generation that is cautious, that loves nature, that is connected to nature. And if you teach your kids to love nature, they're gonna protect it for us, and we're not gonna need all the laws, or we're not gonna have so many of the challenges we spoke about today. So you are key, and specifically when your kid is curious about the environment and is curious about the species, take them out there, take them swimming in the ocean, take them hiking, take them getting closer even to the insects that you might be a little bit scared from, but let them be curious. Do not scare your kids. Get them connected to our nature in the UAE and the nature outside if you can as well. Get them to love this nature, and then they're going to help us protect it. Go.
That's very important, because my sister is a teacher, and she took some children on a field trip, and this little girl came to her and she told her, I have phobia of outdoors, I need to go back inside. And my sister was like, what? So Adra, what are your hopes, and what do you think the UAE is doing to empower and fulfill those ambitions and your future plans?
I really hope that we could have a future for Emirati women of leadership, innovation, and resilience, which we already have. And we could foster the community engagement, spread the research, and influence policies. But I think we are leading by example. So having you, Doctora, as a really like a role model in this field, we would like, and we all hope that we would be able to follow your guidance, your steps, and one day we'll be having a really great impact as the one you're having, and the work you're doing, you have been doing, and you continue to do locally and globally is really incredible and inspiring. So hopefully one day we'll be able to have a similar impact.
You're already having a great impact, so don't be humble. Thank you, Adra. Dr. Anu.
So I will take it on two angles. If we look at the position of the UAE today, it's already, alhamdulillah, it's very strong. And personally, I am inspired by our youth, and one of them being Adra. And then we have Fatma also here, Fatma Al-Hibshi, and Lulua and Mira, part of my team now, and then of course the rest of the audience. The way I see our negotiators speak, listen carefully in the international context when they are on missions is very intriguing. And sometimes I just go behind them and ask a question, not because I want an answer, I just want to know how they will react. And the passion I see in the way they speak, the wealth of knowledge that I see in the way they in the way they back up their opinion is something that makes me proud and assured that the future will be we will even leverage our position as UAE. I expect us to be part of the international reporting authors. I expect us to be part of research projects that are related to different technologies in renewables. I expect to see more scientists in the field of biology, physics, chemistry, and expect us to be emerging interdisciplinary projects that will even enrich and position the country and its outcomes very highly in the international context. At a personal level, I see it at home with my niece, Shamsa. I was very amazed, actually. We were leaving the living area to leave for a trip, and she looked. It was early evening, and the lights were on. She jumped from her place and said, Ammo, look at the light. I looked at the light and I'm like, what's with the light? She said again, Ammo, look at the light. I told her, what's with the light? She told me, we're leaving, and the light will be on, we're wasting energy. I did not expect that from a 6 years old. So it's a continuity. It's a journey that you started, Doctora, and you're inspiring to us, all of us. We hope that one day we will live to the impacts and sustain the impacts that you created. And the youth are already doing amazing projects and jobs and amazing action and presence in the international context. And I expect Shamsa's generation and the younger generation even to alter the behavior of individuals when it comes to sustainability and limiting those emissions, or reducing those emissions so that we can have healthy air to breathe, we can enjoy the outdoors more, and we can save biodiversity and the different ecosystems around the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Actually, I can't agree more. I think we have so many reasons to be hopeful of a positive future. It's amazing what the UAE is doing, and I'm more than amazed and inspired of what is Emirati women are doing. And when I say Emirati women, I mean Emiratis as citizens and as residents, because we are all part of this journey. And as women of the UAE, we are not only doing much to improve sustainability here for the UAE, but we are, as Dr. Anoud and Abra mentioned, and I'm sure there are so many examples that both Hajar and Hiba can share on how we are really making huge impact globally by inspiring those changes around the world. So thank you very much for my esteemed speakers. I was hoping to have time to get questions from the audience, but I've looked at the time and we are already above the allocated time, and I know everybody has meetings to go. So thank you for an amazing panel, and thank you for our esteemed audience for giving us the time and staying later than they planned to. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
And happy Emirati Women's Day, everybody. Thanks for listening to On Renewables. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Spotify, and leave us a rating on Apple Podcast. And if you have any questions, feedback, or suggestions for our next guest, leave us a comment on our social media pages on Instagram and X. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time.